Welcome to Lab06. Today we are going to talk about two new commands, find and locate. We already discovered there are multiple strategies to search the file system in Linux. One of them is using the index.dd, which is used by the locate command. And the other strategy, which is to search the file system live. That means we do the actual search on the file system file by file and directory by directory. And we reviewed the advantages and disadvantages of each strategy. For example, the locate command will search the index.db, and in this case, it will be much faster because it has to go through only a single file, while the find command will search the file system directory by directory, which might take some time if we have a lot of directories to go through. So today we are going to review the syntax of two commands in addition to certain flags, and talk about the grep command, which we didn't have a chance to talk about last lecture. For this lab, you have to set up some files, mainly in the documents folder. So if I go to ls documents, I have already personal files and log files. These two files are currently empty. So if you go to the lab file, you will find here some files to create using the touch command. So all you need to do is just copy the touch command and paste it. Make sure you are in the correct directory for work files, for example. So I'm going to cd into documents, work files. Then I'm going to create the files which we will use for the demo lab. If I type ls again, we can see the files are created now. I'll go back again and copy the touch command for the rest of the files for the personal files directory. I will cd to personal files and then paste the touch command. And with this, if I go back again and in s-r, I can see that all my files and directories are ready now. So let's start with the locate. Now, if I type locate at the moment and then specify the home directory like this, and maybe if I can specifically mention the documents directory, we can see that locate actually doesn't show me the content of the personal files directory or the work files directory. And the reason for that because we just added the files and locate didn't have the chance to index these two directories. So you can see that in this case, even if I type star, still the list will come back empty. If I, of course, star is a matchmaker that will show me all the directories listed below documents. Even if I type home star, we can see that some files were indexed previously from the downloads directory, but the documents directory is still not indexed fully. So in this case, we have to manually run the update db command. The update db command, let me actually close this session and start another terminal session. Okay. Now, if I run the update db command, it will tell me that the file is locked because the file exists actually in var lib, which means it requires sudo access to be modified. And you can see the location of the index database that we talked about. It is in mlocate directory, and it is called mlocate.db. So in order to update this directory, all I have to do is add sudo and run the command update db again. It will ask me for my password. And then the command will run to make sure that everything is updated correctly. All I need to do is just type ls-l for the var lib mlocate, and we can see that the file has been updated just 1 minute ago. Okay, So this is the first step in order to ensure that the locate command will work correctly. Now we can run the locate command again, and this time feed it the home directory documents. And if I type enter, I can see all the files now. So the locate command actually indexed the content of personal files and work files. Excellent. Okay. So we can now start experimenting with our locate command. So as described previously, locate and then the directory name alone will actually list everything inside that directory. Okay. Locate and mention a certain directory inside home. Also, it will list only the files inside that directory. Okay, what if I want to use matchmakers now in order to basically locate certain files or certain extensions? So what we can do, without knowing even the parent directory, which is documents, we can use the star matchmaker or give it to the locate command slash. That means I don't know what kind of subdirectories are there before I reach my targeted file. And then I will mention notes.txt. Now, if I hit enter, you can see that actually it was able to find notes.txt inside work files documents directory. And in this case, the star actually was able to match two subdirectories inside the home directory. So this is an example of using the star matchmaker to guess where is the file. I just know it by name. Otherwise, let me just type locate command again. So I'll use this as a reference every time I try to run the locate command. So we already tried to search for notes. What about searching by extension? So if I do this star, then forward slash star dot xlsx, for example, I was able to find all Excel files in both personal files and work files directories. So this is another example of using the star matchmaker. Let me locate again, and let's use a different query. For the locate command also, you have to pay attention to case sensitivity. So if you were, for example, notice, we have a schedule in work files. So if I try to search for SCH schedule and then hit star matchmaker, it will find actually schedule and schedule 2. But you can see that schedule 3 has been excluded for the simple fact that schedule 3 starts with is critical. So in this case, what we need to do is provide the flag dash I. Flag dash I will ignore case, and it will be basically a query with that is case insensitive. If I type enter, now I can see that schedule 3 has returned back into the search results. So in this case, I think we covered the locate command syntax for the matchmakers. Of course, the other matchmakers, the question mark, the brackets also can be used in this case. For example, for doc, we have something called budget, a file called budget. So it is almost 6 letters. So what I can do is run the locate command and tell it that I know that there is a file with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters and ends with doc. And if I type enter, the matchmaker will also filter the doc file. So this is another strategy you can use. And last but not least, you can still, of course, use brackets. So let me get my reference locate and then maybe search again for star slash. I'll use star, then the brackets, and then I'll mention it has to contain underscore. And then I will use the star to close my query, and I hit enter. It will bring everything that contains an underscore. Whether you can see that this directory was matched, even though actually the file does not contain underscore because for the simple fact that locate actually filters both directory names and file names. So in this case, again, if I try to locate star the north underscore files, it will give me everything that is inside the Word files directory, regardless of the actual file name. So in this case, you'll be able to search the directory itself and see recursively everything inside it. Or if you want to search a file by itself, you can specify the file name and extension, which is advisable. So that's it for the locate command. Moving on to the find command. Now the find command is a little bit more, we can say, precise in terms that it is able to find files in real time without the need to update the database. In addition, it can search by multiple attributes. So we can search by size, by name, by modification date, creation date, and update date. So this is called the find command. And again, if you can recall the locate, if you give it a directory name, it will list everything inside it. The file command is actually similar in this regard. If we feed the find command the tilde slash, it will get everything inside my home directory. If I give it document, again, it will get everything inside documents. So I'll use this command as a reference every time. So I'll run it. Let me clear the screen before we continue. So find document. So again, if I want to find a file by name, all I need to do is use the flag dash name and then mention the file name, for example, address.doc. And if I hit enter, it will be able to find address.doc inside personal files. What if I don't know the actual file name, the file name exactly? So I can guess it again using the matchmakers. So I clear everything and say start.doc. It will find all doc files inside everywhere, basically, but I don't want that. Let us focus on the home directory or even the documents. You can specify it or home, doesn't matter. So in this case, it is always better to mention the directory, otherwise you'll search the entire file system, which might take some time. So in this case, we were able to find two doc files, one in Word file and one in personal files. Again, I can use the same tactic to filter by file name. So we have picture, for example. If I type picture, it will not find anything because it is an exact match. If I want to find picture and I don't know what is the rest of the picture, it might be PNG, it might be JPEG, or whatever extension, I can use the star matchmaker and hit enter again. It will be able to find all the pictures with that specific name. Of course, if I give it a different directory, for example, if I try to search for pictures inside pictures actually, which is empty, it will come back empty because the pictures directory currently does not contain any files. Okay, so we have to pay attention to the targeted directory. Other than name, I can search by size. So if I delete everything and specify the size flag, now I can specify, for example, the size range. I want the file to be bigger than 10 megabytes, for example. And I can see I have two files that are bigger than 10 megabytes. Of course, you might not have these two files, and if you are using distro C. So in this case, I prepared another example for the lab to account for this scenario. But you have to run it with sudo. So if you run it with sudo find and then focus on /var, I believe, and then look for files that are, we can say, let's say 60, more than 60 megabytes, and hit enter. We can find three files matching, and I believe these are library files used by the system. If I want to know the exact file size, I can include the -ls flag, which will also display the full file details. Of course, once you reach the directory, you are free to run dash ls, run the ls command with all our parameters. So, for example, I'll mention the directory, then I'll include the lhg, L for list of details, H human readable, and G to ignore group. And I can see that actually all of these files are what above 60, or actually only a single file is above 60 MB, which is LX, and it does actually match the LX file here inside the snaps. Okay, so inside snaps, I was able to find only one file, and this is in snap B, snaps LX2276, LX2276. Okay, and I believe the other file might be hidden because I can see that this directory contains two files actually. But at all the case, this is just to know the exact size, file size if you would like to. Okay, but the find command did this job. Let's again go to our root directory and call our find command without any arguments for documents, of course. Okay, let me clear again. So again, I want to search by different attribute. We saw how to search by file name and size. Of course, size can accept actually multiple parameters. Let me go back to size quickly. If I, for example, specify that it has to be bigger than 10 MB, but smaller than 30 MB, for example. Okay, I just need to mention the size flag multiple times, and then mention bigger than, that means plus 10, smaller than minus 30, and then I have a range of size, and then I can hit enter. It will find all the files that match this criteria, and if I want to check actually if these files match this criteria, all I need to do is copy this directory ls/lhg again for this directory, and actually it contains a lot of files, so I can look quickly through the file sizes. There has to be a better way to sort it. Unfortunately, I'm not aware of sorting by file size. But this way you can find the actual file size if you would like to know more about it. I already found actually 111 MB file. It was, I believe, I can use the grep command actually, but I don't want to use it now because we still didn't finish the command. Okay, we'll come back to this example later. Actually, so let me copy this, keep it for later. So if I, for example, touch notes.txt and then echo the command into notes, okay, for later use. Okay. So the last but not least, for find, what we can do is find by the attribute which is the modification date or the creation date. So let me go back to my reference documents directory, and then I'm going to use the find command and then mention the directory which is tilde/documents, for example, or tilde even is enough. And then I want to see all the files created created in the last 900 minutes, for example. So all I need to do is include the m flag. M flag is modified, and then min, which is minutes, and then I need to mention the minutes. In this case, the last that means negative, then negative what? For example, 500 or 900 minutes, whatever. So this is the list of files that have been created during that time period. If I want to specify, for example, the last 60 minutes since we started, we can see all these files. Maybe let's limit it to 30. Still, maybe the list got a little bit smaller. If you want to see anything that has been the A is we have the three flags. We have C. C, that means it has been the metadata of this file has been altered in the last 30 minutes. M, modified, and A, added. Okay, so added in the last 30 minutes, maybe added in the last 10 minutes. These are the files added in the last 10 minutes. Okay. So, and you can see, for example, notes.txt is one of them. And this way, we now concluded the find command. You can, of course, at any time hit the manual for find and look at the list of the flags available. There are actually find command is one of the most comprehensive search utilities you can use for Linux. So it's good to learn it. What I basically described in this demo, just a brief overview of the basic usage of the find command. Last but not least, we have the grep. The grep command is very useful in terms of searching the content of the files or the content of or the output of some commands. So in this case, if we want to search the content of the file, for example, I know beforehand there is our file in etc app sources.list. So if I use the cat command for this file, I can see the content, the full content of this file. So I want to search, I want to return only the lines that start with HTTP. So in this case, if I use instead of cat, I use grep. Okay. And then I mention what I want to grep exactly, and I mention HTTP. So I just need to mention what I want to grep first. Okay. So in this case, I return only the lines from the sources.list file that contains the HTTP word. And you can see that the lines have been highlighted for me in a beautiful way. Another use case for it would be, for example, to grep a certain command. For example, we all know the date command. So the date command actually returns a single line by default, but I just want to show you how can grep highlight certain segments of this line. So if I basically use the pipe operator to pass the data output into grep, and then I tell it to grep exactly anything that contains PM or AM, for example, and to ignore case with the -i flag. In this case, it will highlight PM. And if you are running, for example, if you are using or performing the lab during the morning, it will highlight AM. If you type, of course, PM, AM, or P, even no need to repeat the M. PAM is enough. Okay. So I think that's it for both commands. Of course, the grep has many practical use cases. For example, we have, if we try to see the content of the ETC network or services, I believe. Okay, this is a very famous file that contains a list of services that are basically enabled for this system. So if I want to see the network service, I can grep this file. So grep network. And I can see that currently network is running TCP and UDP on these basically we can call it processes. This is the PID number of the process. So this is one way also of using the grep command, and it has many other usages. Uh, Basically, it is part of, you can see, you can think of it as like a filter in order to extract the useful info out of commands that display a lot of info. Uh, so that's it for today's lab. Thank you, and see you in the next lab.